Hello again. It's Lucy, and this is the Clarity Podcast, episode 3. How exciting! um, I've called this episode Spark because that word is something I keep running into everywhere I go lately. Everybody I'm speaking to, following, or listening to seems to be saying the same thing, that there's this feeling inside them that they are meant for more. It's a little spark that sits in the center of our soul, and it feels like we can't ignore it anymore. Collectively, people are waking up. We hear about this global consciousness shift. There's this sense that the way we've been living, the grind, the routine, the same days on repeat, it isn't actually how we're meant to live. And that spark that's always been there is starting to grow. And it's such an exciting time to be alive, to be in this collective of this awakening. If this sounds like you, or you resonate with this, then stick around. And if you're not sure if this is for you, I've put together a few signs that you may be remembering your soul's mission. And number one is this deep inner pull that I've just been talking about. You feel called to something more, even if you don't know what it is yet. It feels like a magnetic tug from within your soul. And another sign may be that you are seeing synchronicities everywhere. You keep seeing repeating signs, angel numbers like 111 or 2222, or you keep finding feathers or hearing songs with hidden messages or having vivid dreams. That's the universe whispering, go this way, do this. Another sign that you may be one of these people is that you have a sense of dissatisfaction with your old life. Jobs, relationships, friendships, or lifestyles that once fit now feel heavy. It's like your soul is urging you to shed what no longer aligns. Another sign could be an awakening of gifts. Your intuition sharpens, or your clairs start to open up, or you notice healing hands or psychic dreams or creative surges that you didn't have before. It might not be the whole answer yet, but there will be little signs leading you that way. And there will be a strong desire to be of service. You'll feel a deep urge to help, guide, or uplift others, whether through art or healing or teaching or energy work. And it's not about ego anymore. It's coming from a place of love. Remember, your journey unfolds in layers, and your mission won't drop all at once. It reveals itself as you grow, so just trust the journey, and that's what this episode is about. And knowing that you're meant for more, but not knowing what more is, can feel really uncomfortable. But what I've noticed also is that with it comes this pressure. With this awakening comes a pressure to figure it out. Figure out what our spark is. People start asking, what am I meant to do? What is my calling? How do I contribute to this awakening? How do I serve others? How do I help? What is my gift? I once had a reading where I was told that my soul's purpose, my calling across many lifetimes, was to bring joy, to show people joy, to be joy. And at the time, that felt so vague to me. What does that mean? I thought, okay, but how does that become a job? How does that become a calling? What do I actually do with that? I'm a very action-orientated person. I like lists and solutions and outcomes. So be joy just didn't really help me. And then something interesting happened. As I started doing things that genuinely brought me joy, I kept getting the same message in different ways. I ended up on a live global event where the space holders spoke about the spark within us all. And they said that the way to uncover it isn't by forcing answers, isn't by trying to solve what the riddle is or trying to uncover what our gift is. It's just simply by following joy. And there was that word again, joy. Another breadcrumb. We are so used to solving things with action in our life, making plans, setting goals, figuring it out, but this doesn't work quite the same way. Because uncovering your purpose isn't like preparing for a job interview. You can't approach it with pressure and force. You can't make it happen because of action. It has to come through surrender, letting go of needing to know, letting go of controlling the outcome, letting go of trying to turn it into something straight away. And I know that's hard. That is a sentiment I struggle with because most of us have been taught that if we don't push, nothing happens. But aligning with your soul doesn't work that way. It can only unfold when you trust. I imagine it like this. When you surrender, it's like sending a signal out into the universe that says, I'm ready, I trust, I surrender, I'm listening, I will follow. It's like a beacon from the top of somebody's head, highlighting to the universe, oh, they're ready. Let's give them a step. Let's give them a breadcrumb. And as I was listening to this and learning this, I came across a proverb that completely crystallized it for me. And that is what this podcast is all about. So I'm going to share that with you. A girl asks a monk, how do I align with my true nature? And he says, to align with your true nature, you must observe what is natural for you. And what is natural for you is revealed by your attention. She asks, what do you mean by attention? How is that different from concentration? And he says, concentration is discipline imposed. Attention is curiosity awakened. Concentration belongs to the mind, and attention belongs to the heart. Concentration is what you are taught in school when energy is forced in one direction. It's imposed from the outside. It chases an end result like a good grade, approval, status, survival. Most of us only know concentration and effort. The suppression of the soul by the mind that keeps repeating, you must do this. And from that suppression, energy is wasted. We feel exhausted and empty, so we escape into consumption and distraction. But attention is effortless. It's the path of least resistance. When you throw away all of the shoulds, it doesn't come from fear, it comes from resonance. It doesn't push, it pulls. It's the subtle gravity of your own nature. And that landed so incredibly deeply for me. Because my whole life, and I'm sure everybody else is listening to this, has been about effort and where we focus that effort and how we concentrate in school and how we concentrate on revision and studying and research to obtain a certain result. And then that result allows us to then find an environment to work or to focus again and to put concentration onto different tasks to then get more results. And it's that loop and that cycle that goes against our hearts every single day. And instead of focusing or having the freedom to focus our attention on what we love to do, on what our true nature is, we lose sight of it and we lose touch with it. and it dims the spark within us. But if we allow ourselves the freedom and the space to give that attention back to what brings us joy, then it comes from love. It doesn't come from, I should be doing this. It comes from a place of zero pressure. And the only will behind it is simply because you want to, simply because it brings you joy, simply because it's within your nature to want to do that. So ask yourself in quiet moments, or even if you get 1 minute of stillness a day within your busy lives, where does my attention fall if I was allowed the freedom to right now? If I had no responsibilities and no shoulds placed upon me, what would I like to be giving my attention? What brings me joy? What is my true nature? And that is how we align back with ourselves. And instead of limiting ourselves into these four walls of this concentration and effort cycle and this action cycle, which corresponds to why we want the answers of this spark in the first place anyway, because we've always been told that you get answers and you get results by giving concentration and effort into something, and you should be figuring this out. Therefore, it feels unnatural to not want to put effort into figuring out what our spark is. But by the very action of not doing that just this once, you're embodying the action of letting go of the should. The very action of surrendering to, I'm just going to do this because I want to, is that beacon telling the world, telling source, telling the universe, I embody this. This is my alignment. This brings me joy, and I'm doing it for no other reason than that. This spark doesn't respond to force, it responds to joy. And giving joy attention, giving the things that bring me joy attention. Because joy is the highest frequency. And it all starts to make sense. So the quickest way to rise into alignment is to just do what you love. Don't think about monetizing it. You don't need to turn it into a plan. You don't need to package it. Just do it for you, simply. And this is where I want you to ask yourself something. What has brought you joy throughout your life? Not what looks impressive or what earns you money, not what people expect, but what genuinely lights you up. It could be something that you did when you were a child. It could be something that you wanted to do with your life, but realized shortly afterwards that it wouldn't have made you enough money, so you cast it aside. It could be something that you call a hobby. Dancing, singing, writing, painting, reading, walking outside, helping people, making things, teaching, talking, designing, creating. It could be anything. Just for you now, write down 5 things that have brought you true joy in your life and start doing them again. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for abundance. Don't wait for money. Don't wait for retirement. Make time. Because when you do what brings you joy, you tell the universe, this is me. This is my frequency. This is what I claim. And then the next step appears. It won't look how you expect. It might be someone asking your advice, or someone noticing what you share, or an opportunity that you didn't plan. You don't need to know the destination. In fact, maybe you're not meant to. Maybe if you knew, you'd skip the lesson. So the universe isn't showing you it. So just trust in the unfolding. Do what brings you joy. Surrender the outcome and watch what happens next. And I feel strongly enough to say this. If you truly follow what brings you joy, and you let go of how it should look, the next step will come, guaranteed. It always does. That is my guarantee to you. And just in case there are some of you listening to this now and thinking that you would love to be able to give more time to the things that bring you love, but you just can't because of your responsibilities, I hear you. I am a mum. I'm a solo parent. I work for myself. I get it. However, bringing joy into your life again is one of the most rewarding acts of self-care that you can give yourself and inevitably pass on to everybody around you. You can make space. My little example to you is this. I once had a dream that I would have an art studio. I absolutely loved art growing up. I took it at GCSE. I used to do it in my spare time. And as I've got older and as I've gained responsibilities, it was something that I put into a box that I called a dream that would only be fulfilled one day in the future if and when I was able to have enough money to buy a house that had a studio attached to it. Or if I had enough money to have an art studio for the fun of it. And I placed it in that box and I never gave it any thought because I was never in a position to be able to be close to that. And then one day, I had one of my famous epiphanies. After creating a little art space for my little girl who absolutely loves painting, I realised that her art corner could be our art corner. And that if I moved some things around in my house and I put up a few dust sheets and I ordered myself a bit of equipment and a few paints and some brushes for the both of us, that I could just paint when I'm with her and we could do it together. And so I ordered all of the things. I moved the table around. I made space, quite literally. I hung up the dust sheets. And one evening, when I was watching TV, I thought, hold on a minute. Why am I watching TV when I could be drawing? My little girl was asleep. I was completely exhausted from the day. It was my hour of the evening with which I used to just like to be a couch potato watching TV. So I went and got one of the canvases and I got my pencils out and I started drawing. And then I placed it on the easel. And the next moment, when I was free again, I turned to it and did a little shading. And then I found myself with a couple of hours yesterday and got my paints out. And I've spent no more than £100 on this, which probably would have normally gone on iced coffees or takeouts. But I chose the path of joy. I chose to action and make space for something, even if I didn't have the time right away. I didn't allow the constraints of this life to confine my dream into a box that I would never give attention to. I chose to give myself permission to give it attention. Try and integrate those things into your life, but just be intentional with it. Choose it. Here are some affirmations that you can sit with. I trust the path that is unfolding for me. What is meant for my soul will not pass me by. I surrender to my soul's purpose. I honor what brings me joy. I am ready for the next step. And I'll just close with this. If there's a spark in you, it's there for a reason. Nurture it with joy, not pressure. And you may even find that it's something that you've had breadcrumbs about your whole life. This has been Clarity. Thank you so much for listening. And if you feel called, share what brings you joy in the comments. I would love to know. I'll see you on the next one.